Thank you for staying with us. And now let's look at the papers. And we're starting with The Nation. And the major headline in The Nation is how reforms are bringing down poverty by presidency. World Bank-led policies reflect on living standard, and 139 million could live in poverty by 2025. Shelf planned strike, Alausa tells ASU. BOI 2 billion loan for core members. Police put tinted glass enforcement on hold. NGOs seek ban on Naji from holding public office. 176 underage UTME candidates undergo screening. MPA shops for investors in Japan. Uche Naji's resignation, a lesson in honor. Senate seeks military base in Kwara, troops in communities. APC set to take in defecting governors. Party now holds 2/3 in Senate.
So the major headline has two sides to it. The federal government the presidency was, responding to World Bank's assessment and report, and I'd like to take it from those two sides so we can have a balance. So the World Bank has urged the Nigerian government to ensure that the positive results from the ongoing macroeconomic reforms translate to tangible improvements in the lives of ordinary citizens, as their data reveals that about 139 million Nigerians are living in poverty. The warning came as the bank unveiled its latest Nigeria Development Update, as the NDU report, titled From Policy to People, Bringing the Reform Gains Home, in Abuja on Wednesday. And the report paints a mixed picture of Nigeria's economic recovery, showing signs of stability and growth, yet highlighting deepening poverty and persistent inflationary pressures. So the World Bank's country director of Nigeria, Matthew Vehis, commended the federal government for its bold economic decisions, including the removal of petrol subsidies and the unification of exchange rates. According to him, these reforms have begun to yield measurable results in revenue growth, debt stabilization, and foreign exchange market performance. And they said over the last 2 years, Nigeria has implemented major reforms around the exchange rate and petrol subsidy. These policies have laid the foundation for transforming the country's economic trajectory for decades to come. That's according to them. But they are now saying that it's very pertinent that the government finds a way to, allow the reforms trickle down to the ordinary citizens, because the ordinary citizens are still not feeling the impact of the reform. It says despite the stabilization gains, many Nigerians are still struggling. In 2025, we estimated that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty. The challenge is clear: how to translate reform gains into better living standards for all. And then, our presidency went ahead to, respond to them. First of all, they disagreed with their report, said that is not true. Okay. And they said the Tinubu administration remains firmly focused on improving household welfare through targeted, verifiable interventions, which is aimed at ensuring that economic growth translates into improved living standards. And then they started reeling out some of the things they've done. The cash transfer, over 297 billion was already disbursed to many families, vulnerable people in the country. They went ahead. So I think people should just read the Nation as well as the Tribune, so you have an understanding. The World Bank isn't saying the government hasn't done anything. They even listed many of the things the reforms have done, but they are now saying that how do you translate it to the many Nigerians who are still below the poverty level?
There's still a lot of work to be done.
So the police PRO has conveyed through the spokesperson of the FCT Police Command, Josephine, added that there's a hole on the implementation of tinted glass enforcement, and this is of course based on the court order.
Say it louder.
There's a halt?
Yes.
They don't halt.
Yeah, thank God.
So police is not enforcing tinted glass permit, requirement anymore.
Okay.
Because a court has put it on hold. There's a court order dated October 3rd that puts it on hold. The Delta State High Court puts it on hold, and the police says that they are a respecter of the court, so they would wait, they will wait for the verdict, the final verdict, after the substantive matter is heard. And they said this law was not made by them. They are just enforcers of the law. Yeah. And she also disagrees with those who think that this is a revenue drive, saying that no, this is not one of such. A lot of criminals have gotten away using dark windowed cars to carry out crime, and because of that, they are doing their job of security and not revenue drive. But the nation captures that the annual cost of the tinted permit is 14,200, which has to be renewed annually for you to use such luxury in Nigeria.
Okay, so I have the story for, they said the NGO seek ban on Naji from holding public office. They say 2 civil society groups have called on the federal government to ban former Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Naji, from holding public office. These 2 societies are CISLAC and Hallow Miss. They said this action will dissuade those planning to forge certificates in the future. They said that he was accused of forging his degree certificate and his NYSC, and he was also asked to resign. And that what they are saying is that, from what I heard from the radio when I was coming, they said that he didn't even have to wait for people to tell him to resign. He's supposed to resign honorably, but he was busy there he went to court trying to justify the fact, trying to make sure that he went to the University of Isuka, trying to still, make his way out and make sure that the result still comes out. Right. So they are saying that they have called on National Assembly. They have called on the National Assembly to apologize to Nigerians for what it termed an international embarrassment arising from its institutional failure. They are also saying that if they had carried out the screening process from the beginning accurately, we won't have such case coming up. And yeah, so they are still looking into the case just to make sure that he resigns honorably. All
right, thank you. Let's look at the Punch. Major headline: Presidency rejects World Bank's poverty report. Strike, federal government ASU in high-stakes talk. Fraud, Interpol arrest wanted Nigerian in Argentina. LP senators shrink to 4 as Chukwu joins APC. Dangote refinery engineers on warpath over redeployment. Nigeria lost $10 billion to Northeast conflict, says UN. Opposition slams government as state's IGR soars by 50%. Christian killings, federal government disagrees with Khan, backs US senator. Let's go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the newspapers. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thank you for staying with us, and we're still looking at the papers. We had just read the
I wanted
Punch.
to take the Interpol story. So the Interpol announced on X that the wanted Nigerian, one Ikechukwu N, that was how his name was put, who has been suspected of allegedly orchestrating multiple romance scams involving thousands of women, has been arrested in Argentina by the Argentina authorities. And, they said this marks the country's first arrest of a red notice fugitive who was also the subject of the Interpol silver notice. And the suspect is accused of orchestrating multiple romance scams involving thousands of women, leading to an international cybercrime network. According to the police organization, Ikechukwu's arrest was part of a special operation which began in 2025, aimed at helping countries trace, recover criminal assets. And the arrest was part of the Operation Jaka, an Interpol coordinated initiative. And thank God there's a bill on the floor of the National Assembly looking to when you commit crime abroad, they deport you here. But we withdraw our passports.
Yes, for 10
years.
Not be
embarrassing us up and down.
Exactly. Another.
Excuse me. Sorry. I wanted to laugh.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, let me go.
Okay. Yeah. So I have the story of the. They said Nigeria lost 10 billion in the Northeast to conflict. They said the United Nations Children's Fund has estimated that Nigeria lost about $10 billion to the decade-long conflict in the Northeast. The UNICEF country representative, that's Wafa Said, he disclosed this in Maiduguri on Wednesday during the formal launch of a socio-economic reintegration program for the children affected by armed conflicts. He said that he's saying that the prolonged insurgency had not only shrunk the national economy but also devastated personal incomes and the earning power of families and young people in the region. He also went ahead to say that for too long, many children and adolescents in the region, especially girls, have been denied the opportunity to learn a skill or pursue their dreams. He also said that currently that they have 1,033 children the 567 boys and 466 girls are benefiting from vocational skills training, vocational skills training in institutions across Maiduguri, Bama, Biu, Damboa, and Ganduga. But that there's supposed to be more numbers, but this numbers is far less because of the what's going on in that region. He also explained that the children are being equipped with practical, market-driven skills such as tailoring, ICT, automobile repair, shoemaking, and carpentry. I was also commended the Borno State Commissioner for Education and Science that though they are also helping, they are also supporting the initiative. The only problem is just the insurgency that is still going on in that region, and saying that the government should please come in and help so that they'll be able to reach more people.
Okay. So the federal government has commenced the final phase of negotiations with the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other tertiary education unions to avert a fresh industrial action. So the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, disclosed this in Abuja on Wednesday during a meeting of the Technical Working Group on the conditions of service for university lecturers. He expressed optimism that the remaining issues with the unions will soon be resolved, noting that the group was finalizing a counter-offer to be presented to the unions through the allied General United Federal Government Tertiary Institution Negotiations Committee. That's a very long title. According to him, the move aligns with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive that all necessary steps must be taken to keep Nigerian students in school and prevent further disruptions to the academic calendar. The president has made it clear that our children must remain in school. Alausa said, it says the technical working group is finalizing a component of the conditions of service to be proposed to the unions, hopefully by the end of today or latest tomorrow. The Allied General United Federal Government Tertiary Institutions Negotiations Committee will now receive that counter offer to ASU. He went ahead to explain that about 80% of the union's demand were common across all tertiary institutions, while the remaining 20% reflected sector-specific concerns. And he said that the committee inaugurated earlier in the week had begun intensive deliberations to fast-track agreement and implementation timeline. So we're hoping to see results so that we don't end up having the strike that they have threatened to have.
Daily Sun, major headline, reps reject moves by US to tag Nigeria, kick against bill alleging religious killings, country of particular concern designation, federal government can trade wars over persecution of Christians, Mba pushes for sustainable growth of Southeast businesses, how nurse set soldier husband ablaze 5 months after marriage, shelf planned nationwide strike, federal government begs ASU, promises to address all outstanding demands, banditry, Senate asks military to establish new base in Kwara. Summons defense minister, army chief, IGP over attacks. Again, World Bank raises the alarm over rising poverty in Nigeria. Forgery scandal, my resignation, not admission of guilt, says Inaji. Who took the how nurse set husband, the human interest?
Yes, I have that story. Give me a moment to quickly get it.
Okay.
How about bank?
While you're there, let me do Senate.
Go ahead.
Wants the federal government to establish permanent military base. So yesterday, a motion was moved at plenary to one titled Urgent Need to Address Insecurity in Local Government Areas, sponsored by Ashiru Oyelola, APC Kwara South. And in his motion, he expressed concern on the escalating insecurity in Kwara South Senatorial District, saying that the bandits attack, kidnapping, and killings have reached an alarming level in recent weeks. And we all know in the story, in the news, the areas affected, particularly the Ifelodun local government area, Isi, Ekiti, Okeero, local government areas of Kwara State, communities like Babanla, Sagbe, Orago, Gomo, Aleri, and all of that area, those areas where, forest guards, local vigilante groups were attacked, killed. You saw the video of the Kwara wife calling on the Kwara governor to, protect her people that her husband had just been killed and all of that. Farms are now abandoned, roads have become unsafe to travel, local economies are paralyzed, and Kwara farming has been the major source of the most quality paddy for rice production for me. Okay. So imagine this that is not happening, and a lot of that has been taken. So I'm surprised there's no military base in that area. They're saying that if the insecurity is left to continue, areas like the north central and southwest geopolitical zone will continue will be fully overtaken eventually. So we need to do something now before
So
it
this
becomes
very
worse.
sad story, they said April 21, a Nigerian Army officer, Lieutenant Samson Haruna, tied nuptial knots with his lover, Reti Obadia Dalong, in Jos, at the capital of Plateau State. They promised to love each other through all seasons. But like, according to the reporter of this, said like the biblical Samson, who died in the hands of his wife, Delilah, the young soldier was served a dish of death by his wife. So barely 5 months after the exchange of marital vows, September 22 to be precise, Reti doused Samson with fuel and set him ablaze during a domestic dispute. This happened at Wellington Basi Barracks, Ibagwa, Abak local government area of Akwa Ibom. It said Samson, who was also a medical doctor and attached the 6th Battalion Regimental Medical Officer, RMO, sustained severe burns, and the man died October 7. According to the sources, the incident occurred after they had an altercation, and it was over alleged infidelity. The wife had accused him of sleeping with another woman, and neighbors immediately jumped in, after he was doused with fire, took him to the hospital, but he said the damage was already done. He had sustained various degrees of burns injuries, and they had to, take him to Uts, which after 3 weeks, it was finally pronounced death. And, the Nigerian Army gone ahead to condemn the death of their young, promising personnel. And according to their statement by the Army spokesperson, Captain Bola Ahmed, he made available, to journalists in Uyo. He said the disease succumbed to severe burns inflicted in a domestic incident between him and his wife.
So
what
sad.
gets us to that point where love quickly turns to hate?
I always ask that question. Okay, let's look at Nigerian Tribune. Major headline: insecurity. Senate seeks permanent military base in Kwara South as Army steps up action. Federal government begs ASU to shelve strike. JAM screens 176 underage candidates for admissions. Exposing children to e-waste pollution can cause hypertension. 139 million Nigerians living in poverty, according to the World Bank. Knocks for Tinubu APC over Naji. Reps reject U.S. Senate's move to designate Nigeria as country of particular concern. What do we have in the Tribune? Someone has federal government begs ASU.
We have taken that. We've taken the ASU story. Yeah. Can I take the health story?
Okay.
Yeah, so they said children who live in areas where electronic waste from laptops, cell phones, medical equipment to cars, the electronic devices installed, where they are frequently thrown out and burnt, are at the risk of developing childhood hypertension. In this new study, the experts revealed that children in e-waste regions face a 4-fold higher risk of hypertension as toxic metals and volatile organic compounds alter the gut-related metabolic pathways and disturb the body's blood pressure regulation. So we need to also pay attention to people who are living in those areas where they dispatch and where they damage many of these things, get them burnt and all of that. So they said in a recent article in Environment and Health, researchers investigated the impact of children's exposure to heavy metals and volatile organic compounds from electronic waste, e-waste, recycling on their blood pressure. They found that children living in areas with e-waste showed elevated levels of VOCs and metalloids. And we're about 4 times more likely to have hypertension, highlighting the risk of e-waste exposure during childhood. We need to pay attention to some of these things for children.
Thank you, ladies. That's all we can take on the papers for today. Stay with us as we go on a short break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.